Hello, my friends. Welcome to Let's Talk, produced by Wise Mindly Inc. I'm your host, Coach Shay Marville. In this space, we dive into transformative conversations that hopefully inspire you to grow, heal, and have a deeper connection to yourself and to the world around you. So, let's talk, let's connect, let's grow together. Hello, my friends. Welcome to Let's Talk. In today's space, I have a very special guest, someone who has dedicated their life to service, to honor, to community, and the quiet daily work of building a nation. My friends, today I have Warrant Officer Patrick Philippeaux. He was born in Montreal to Haitian parents. He's a proud father of four, a veteran whose story spans continents, crisis, and generations. Welcome to Let's Talk. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Are you nervous?
Just a little bit.
You don't need to be. You don't need to be.
Right,
We've talked so many times, and the reason I wanted to bring you on to the podcast or bring you into the pod is to hear your point of view around service and spirituality. I was so curious after meeting you about your relationship with faith. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your background? How did you get into the military, first of all?
Well, I joined the military in 1996. Before that, I graduated high school. Once I graduated high school, I didn't really have a goal, didn't really have a set path of where I wanted to go. So, but I knew I wanted to do something that was to service. So I went to school to be a firefighter, graduated the program, but it took a long time for me to get hired. They weren't hiring simply because it was harder to be hired at those times if you were of minority groups.
Were you in Montreal?
I was in Montreal at the time in Quebec.
Okay, so how long did it take you to actually, between going to school and getting hired into?
It never happened. It never happened. So I was doing hard jobs here and there, working 2 shifts because I had kids already. So I was working 12 hours to 18-hour shifts at a Burger King.
What?
And down the street from the Burger King on St. Catherine Street in Montreal, there was the recruiting center. And as I was walking past one day, one of the recruiters says, "Here's a pamphlet. Why don't you join the military?" And that was it.
Really? So
Yes.
so until that moment, you had never thought about joining the military?
Never thought about joining the military, although one of my uncles was in the military, serving the U.S. Army, serving in Vietnam, but never thought about joining the military, no.
And so this gentleman hands you a pamphlet, and what do you do next?
Then I applied, and within 3 months, I was in the military on basic training.
And how long does that take?
Basic training took about 3.5 months of rigorous training.
And what's rigorous training? Just because I think, for someone like myself, a civilian, I have no idea what happens, what's the process of becoming a member of the military. So don't think you're giving too much detail. You just...
A lot of running, a lot of ruck marching, a lot of training with military weapons, digging trenches. So anything to build your stamina, anything to build your inner strength.
Right.
Yes.
And then how long between training and being assigned or deployed was there?
I didn't get deployed until Afghanistan erupted.
What year was that?
That was in 2003.
Oh.
It was the first rodeo we went out. I didn't get deployed until 2003. When Afghanistan erupted around 2002-ish, I think it was.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just tracking this for a moment. So you're a young dad. You've worked at Burger King. You've gone to school to be a firefighter. It doesn't happen, and then you apply to the military. You get in. You do training. In this mindset, because we've talked a lot about mindset, are you thinking about what it's like to fight and be on the ground in a war zone? Are you thinking about that?
Not at all, because a lot of people have told me in the military, they said, I never saw you as a soldier. I don't think you should have been a soldier. You should have been something else. Because I'm the type of person who doesn't scream. I don't yell at troops. I get my nails done. I dressed up. So being a soldier is something that I'm great at. But I don't think it was really the calling at the beginning.
What do you think the calling was?
I don't know. I don't know what it was, but I knew I loved to help people.
And was it because of necessity, because you had a young family that you felt like you had to find something to do, that the dream was, I would say, like, I mean, if you are training to be in the fire service, there's something in you that wants to save people and serve people, right? So you then diverted that dream into the military because you weren't called. And so you were listening to the calling, but it didn't have a specific direction.
No, didn't have a plan at all. It was just, okay, I'm going to do this. I never had a plan. And I think that's one of the reasons I was a corporal for so many years. It's because I said to myself, I'm going to do this. It's going to be just a day-to-day job, but never had plan or goals set for my career.
So, okay, but just for a second though, you don't have plans. You're going into this very dangerous job. What's going through your mind about how to fight, how to survive? Like, what do you think? You're not planning, but what are you thinking about?
Well, when we talk about fighting and surviving, we're trained. We're trained, right? And it's about trusting your training. And if you trust your training and you're not cutting corners, then everything should go according to plan. One of my mentors always said to me, he says, you have a plan, but you know who else has a plan? He said the enemy has a plan. So your plan may be the right plan, but we also know that the enemy has a plan to counteract your plan. So as long as you stay in your training, you know what you're doing, you trust your training, you trust your leaders, and you don't cut corners, there's nothing to worry about. I never worried.
You felt safe.
I felt safe. And my grandmother was a God-fearing woman.
Yeah, tell me about her.
So she passed away a couple of years ago, but she always prayed. And I remember when I was in Afghanistan, there was not a 2 days spent that would go by that I wouldn't call her and we'd pray together. So I think she was really the driving force to me coming home safe.
Her prayers and your prayers together.
That's right.
Was your grandmother Haitian?
Yes.
And were you born in Haiti?
No, I was born in Montreal.
You were born in Montreal. Did you ever live in Haiti?
Never.
And so who came up first, your grandmother or your parents?
My parents came up first.
Okay.
My parents came up first.
And tell me about Haiti. What was, like, tell me about that culture through your parents.
Prideful. Haitians are a very pride community. Resilience, pride. I mean, you're talking about the first Black nations who gained their independence. In spite of everything that's going on there in the capital.
Yes.
Haiti's a beautiful place.
Haiti has Haiti was the location of one of the largest populations of slaves.
Yes.
And I do think that we often forget that in the story, or we just don't tell it in the story of slaves. We often talk about the African American slave story, and to a certain degree in Canada, surprisingly, we do talk about the slave history here, but not as much as we talk about, roots or, the many multiple stories that are related to African Americans evolving out of slavery. I've always thought that the Haitian story is extraordinary and complex. The first rebellion ever was in Haiti. They almost actually got their freedom, then it was brutally crushed. Do you think that heritage is something that is is part of this lineage of pride, this part of this belief in this identity that's so strong?
Definitely. I mean, you look at the Haitian people, they love their flag.
Yes. Yeah, they do. I mean,
they love their flag. And again, in spite of a lot of Haitians fleeing, the capital to come somewhere, or they track 68 days in the jungle to come somewhere and be safe. If they had a choice, they wouldn't leave. If they had a choice, they wouldn't leave. I mean, my uncle just retired last year. He was an anesthesiologist at St. Joseph Hospital in Hamilton, and he's in Haiti right now building a hospital. So a lot of the older generation who were raised and born in Haiti, their goal is always to return back and to give back to that country. So Haitian people are very prideful.
Do you think, for you growing up in Montreal, you had a strong sense of who you were as a Haitian and a Montrealer, or do you think you ever had to choose between the two?
No, because I had a strong sense of what it was to be a black man.
What does that mean? Tell me, what does that mean for you?
For me, is it all goes back to my roots, my African roots. Haitians are descendant of Ghana, Togo, Congo. Haitians are descendants of that African roots. So it's always pride for me to be a black man.
You said that, you alluded to the fact that even though you did the training to be a fireman, you said that you were never called. Do you think that was because of race?
I think it has, I think it does, in my humble opinion, it has something to do with race. I mean, you look back in the 90s to 2010, and we look today. I mean, we have, as a nation, as a Canadian nation, we have grown so much when it comes to racial equality or gender equality.
Yes, true.
Right? We have grown so much. So not staying in the past and not wanting to allow the past to control my destiny, I chose to continue to serve as a Canadian soldier.
Do you think that part of being Canadian is also being able to talk about your struggles as a racialized person, as a racialized man?
Of course, struggles and success.
Yeah, tell me about the success. Like, what does success look like or mean for you?
First, you get up every morning and you could walk, you could breathe. I think is a tremendous success. Some people equate success with money. Some people equate success with an amount of value. I equate success with where I was, right, and what I've become, right? Or what I could have been and what I am today. That's what I equate success to.
You said you were a corporal for a long time. You know, we've talked about this before, obviously not in the pod, but you have said to me that you were a corporal for a long time because you weren't interested in leadership.
I wasn't interested in leadership. I was very complacent.
Yeah.
You know, at the time I was the Deputy Minister of Defense's driver, and you know, you're untouchable. I mean, my office looked better than some commanding officers that were working in the CAF. So no one touched you. You did your job. You did it well.
Yes.
And I became very complacent in just being a driver, because driving is my trade. I'm in the transport. I'm an MSC op, and leadership. Although leadership was in me and people saw it in me, I didn't see it in myself.
But you weren't just driving. It's like not like you were doing Uber. No offense to Uber.
No offense to Uber.
You weren't just driving. You had to be a strategist. You had to be a protector, and you were driving through very challenging and complex areas at times, right? And your job was to protect the deputy minister.
That's right. In the country, it wasn't that hard, but when you're driving overseas as an MSC op, there's a lot of things that you need to keep in mind. The terrain, you got to look out for booby traps, IEDs. So it's not just getting behind the wheel and driving a truck, but it's being able to see 10 steps ahead sometimes. I mean, not 2 steps ahead, 10 steps ahead. What can occur? What to do in the event that something does occur while you're driving. So being an MSC op in the Canadian Armed Forces is although it's an amazing trade, it's not an easy trade to be in.
No, how many times did you almost not get through? Do you have a count in your head of how many times you were in danger and it could have gone another way?
You do, but again, like I said, is I tried my best all the time not to cut corners, because sometimes you're transporting troops,
right?
Sometimes is commodities, equipment, and to get that equipment from point A to point B is at times one of the most important things, because without that equipment, the soldiers that are in the front line can't do their job.
Can you describe what's the most dangerous place you've been? You don't have like what would make something dangerous?
I think the most danger was in Afghanistan for sure. Haiti was as soon as I landed, everyone knew I was. I tried to hide for a long time, but everyone knew I was Haiti. I was from originated from Haiti, Haitians, from Haitian background. So just to be there was able to help us get some of the things we needed. Because sometimes I would be the one speaking to either the Haitian police commissioner or the Haitian police just to get our task done and accomplish the mission. So I think Afghanistan was by far the most dangerous, but Haiti was the best tour for me.
Because you were trusted.
I was trusted. Yeah. I was trusted.
There, it reminds me. We were at a dinner a year and a half ago or something. It was for the recognition of Afghanistan, of soldiers who were in the Afghanistan war, and there were some extraordinary stories, like just incredible stories of the trials and the tribulations that soldiers and the people, civilians, were experiencing. And there was something that really touched me, and that was the relationship. There were quite a few Afghani soldiers and some community members that were on the ground during the time the soldiers were there, and they were here at this lunch, and the relationship, the friendship, the connections. There was one story, I don't know if you remember it, where, and I'm going to get the positions incorrect most likely, there was a general speaking, and he was talking about a Afghani general who was, before he was in the military, was a tailor. Do you remember this? And he made... Vaguely. Okay. The things that stick out to me. He had made him a series like of suits. And this general has those suits and wears them proudly. And he was saying that these were the best suits he's ever worn. And I had never thought about that. I mean, I just had never thought about that, the people's lives before they become part of a war.
Yes.
You know, that this man was a tailor and now is a general.
Now he's a general.
And as a gift, he made a suit for a Canadian general who was his friend.
Yes. And I'm sure they still keep that friendship and that partnership, because
they talked about that.
Yeah, because sometimes you make those connections while you're on deployments. I mean, I have when I was in Haiti, there's people that I met and then I still talk to on a weekly basis, and that friendship, that connection is you know, how can we call it? That love language becomes that camaraderie.
Yeah.
That place that got us to be together and to create that sort of togetherness or companionship.
Bond.
That bond.
Yeah.
That bond.
Well, it also is this other side of war and conflict that we never, like, we don't talk about or plan for, are these relationships that evolve between adversaries in order to survive.
That's right.
For you, can you think of a place that really transformed how you thought about the people or the place because of that bond or connection?
I don't think of people in a negative light, whether it's a conflict environment or whether it's a non-conflict environment. I always try to bring harmony and love in any interactions I have with the person from that country that is in conflict. And I think that's what makes me different from some soldiers. So some soldiers are able to go there and keep that separation and stay disconnected. I'm a social bird.
You believe in friendship as a tool.
I believe in that. Yeah, friendship as a tool. And a lot of times it can be good, and a lot of times it can be bad. But so far it hasn't steered me in the wrong way.
Do you think that's born out of your spirituality or your desire or your belief in being part of something bigger than yourself?
I truly believe that love is the key to create peace. And the lack of love will bring war. I mean, I can't speak to what's going on around the world right now, because to me, it's you know, you see it on the news. It's like you ask yourself, well, why is this stuff going on in this time in life, right? But that's what it is. Is we talk about love, but we don't act with love.
How did you get to have these parts of yourself where you have understanding of the power of love, but then also you're a soldier and you follow a command and hierarchy, and how do you make sense of that in yourself, in your mindset?
Great leaders would always tell you, all they want you to do is care. Right? If you care, you'll do a great job. And caring is part of loving.
This is so fascinating. It's so fascinating because in the movies and, in television, you see this great leader come in and, the commander, and general, and they're telling you, or they're telling their troop, stand up, be strong, you don't hear the word love often. You just said that your commanders have talked about caring.
Caring. It's all about caring. Caring for yourself. Caring for the man and woman next to you. Caring for the person across from you. If you care for that person in some kind of, we're not saying not to defend yourself, right?
Of course.
But if you care for that person, then you'll find ways to de-escalate, right? Sometimes even in brothers at home or sisters at home, we have disagreement, right?
Yes, yeah.
But if you care for that person, you'll find a way to de-escalate.
It's fascinating because strength and caring in our families, we know we need that. But in the managing of other people with a military or with the police, right? It's often doesn't feel like it's about caring. It's about control or punishment or discipline or,
I can't speak to the police because I'm not a police officer and I don't work in that environment. However, I do believe that 90%, or I could even say 95% of the soldiers that you encounter care. And here's a prime example. A soldier might sit on a hill, get ready to eat his lunch, but he looks down and he sees 12 little children looking at him, opening up that ration pack. And there's not a lot of food in there. It's just bread, a chocolate bar, maybe applesauce or peach. It's not a lot of food. But that soldier would take his food and share it with those 12 kids. So I think these are the things we don't see.
That's right.
These are the things we don't see. And a lot of times, when soldiers are deployed, they would volunteer in orphanages. We would go out and we paint orphanages. We clean up orphanages. So there's a lot of things that you don't see. But I would say 95% of the soldiers on the planet care. At least the ones that I've worked with care.
Yeah. No, it's very powerful what you're saying. I wonder about your commitment to theology and spirituality. You talk a lot about when you do speak, because you're also very quiet. And I know this is kind of uncomfortable for you because you're very quiet in your general life and demeanor. I wonder about as you evolve as, someone who's been in the military for 30 years, and you think about leadership and the relationship between leadership and caring, what are the next steps for you as you evolve?
I'm still looking at how long can I go? How long can I serve for? The goal is to achieve the rank of Chief Warrant Officer. So I'm not looking outwards of the organization until I accomplish that, until I know that I can't accomplish that.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to be able to work with young men who are struggling in the community, especially those involving, in gangs or in things that are not so ethical that we would call, and perhaps lead them in perhaps thinking about choosing the military, right?
Why do you think that the military could be a good framework for them to grow in or to progress in or change?
Because the military teaches you structure. It teaches you, as for some of us, we're not taught to, we're not taught to lead, right? So military instills leadership. From the time you put on your uniform, you're a leader, right? You're trained to be that. You are that. You're told that's what you are. And I think a lot of young men in our communities are lacking that structure and that leadership.
Why do you think they're lacking? Like what is it that you've observed?
I mean, let's talk about myself, for instance. I don't want to talk about somebody else so they don't feel.
Yeah, for sure.
You look at a family where my mother was a single mother. My parents got divorced. I was 6 years old. So my mother did it all. And she didn't have the time to do it. I'm not saying she didn't know how to do it. She didn't have the time to do it because she has to work 2 jobs.
Yes.
Sometimes 3. And sometimes we don't see her until the weekend. So we're going to school and we're not 1 child, 2 childs. We're a bunch.
You come from like a big family.
Yes, we're a bunch, and even the ones who came who were cousins and nieces who came into our home because they were leaving Haiti to come to a better place. She had to take care of that. So she doesn't have the time to teach leadership. She doesn't have the time to develop structure that a young Black man or a young man needs.
Right.
That sometimes perhaps only your father can give. And if the father is not in the life of that child, and it's hard for the mother to teach him that.
And is it also about the caring and the modeling of caring?
Yes, that plays a role in it.
When do you think for you, because you said let's talk about you, when did you find like a sense of agency for yourself as a young Black man in Montreal? Were you 12? Were you 14? Were you 16?
I think around that age.
Right. And did you feel as though you had a future, a great future ahead of you, or did you feel like you were in a struggle?
If I was to look back, it was a struggle. Because if your mom is not at home to, and again, not saying she didn't love us.
No, you're talking about capacity.
Exactly. If she's not at home to provide that, then you're going to go out and get that somewhere else. So whether it's hanging out on the corners with gangs or with, doing something that you shouldn't be doing, just to feel that appreciation or that affirmation from someone else, you're going to go out and do.
Well, and we know that actually it's in, preteens and teens.
Exactly.
Your brain is actually wired, all children, for biological, for connection.
For connection.
And it's usually not from the home that you get the connection that you're seeking. It's actually external. So who's in your external world actually really matters.
That's right.
What was school like for you, though, at that time?
I was a good student.
You were a good student. Okay. And did you... That's good.
Yeah, I was a good student. I did venture off a lot where again, you try to go out and get that love somewhere else. And I think being able to escape what some youth were not able to, I think it's a blessing.
So what do you mean you would venture off? Like, what does that mean?
Like you would do the wrong
Like
things. I'm a radio. I'm saying you would do the wrong things. You would do the on and off bad things. But again, it's because you wanted to be part of something,
right? And you were being recognized,
recognized
and valued.
Valued.
Yeah.
You wanted to be part of something, right? And you thought that was the right thing to be part of, right?
Yes.
Because you don't have that structure. You don't have that leadership.
Yes. Yeah, that caring.
That's right.
Was your dad in your life at all during this time? He wasn't. No. Do you know why? Did you ever talk to him?
At this point, it didn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's still my father.
Yes.
Right? He did his job.
Yes.
I mean, God chose him to be that.
Yes.
So I can't say anything negative about that.
I understand what you're saying. I didn't grow up with my dad, and it was just Father's Day. My dad's passed now, but I feel as though we have these ideas culturally about how, like, what a good father is, what a good mother is. And if you don't fit into the box of what a good father or mother is, then you can't be celebrated or recognized, or you as the child, you're supposed to feel bad, right, about the person that was your parent who didn't do a great job, maybe, or wasn't around, or whatever it is. And I feel like my dad did what he was able to do, and that's not letting anyone off the hook. It's just about being able to recognize that someone else's deficit is not mine, or someone else's struggle is not mine. It's influenced me, but what I do with it is up to me. Do you feel the same?
Yes, I feel totally the same. Totally the same.
Yeah.
He was there. He didn't have to. He didn't have to be that person, but he was. So to hold him to heart because he wasn't around, I just see it as maybe he didn't know how. Right?
Right, and the circumstances. Of immigration and all these different things. They're not excuses. But I feel, now that I'm a parent and I've lived a few decades, there are a lot of things that can derail you from having a good life, and there are a lot of things that derail you. And it's not to make excuses, but there's a lot of things that derail you from being the parent your child needs. One thing I think about often is, or more when my kids were younger, not so much now, they could talk to the therapist or the priest about this now. But anyways, I used to think a lot about what I'm doing for my child right now. Is this for my child or is this for the child that is in me? Because I didn't want to keep serving my child, like my child in me. I needed to understand who my child, who my children are, what do they need, which is different from what I needed.
That's right. And I made the same mistake too. So that doesn't make you a bad person. I made the same mistake too. I mean, I was always away.
Right.
Because you're deployed, you're making more money, you're providing more.
Yes.
You're giving them a better life financially.
Mm-hmm.
But when my daughter graduated high school, she said to me, Dad, you always gave us everything we wanted, but you were never there.
She said that.
Yeah.
How did you receive it?
I kind of brushed it off by saying, well, you took everything I gave you. And she said, stop playing, Dad. Don't be serious. But I knew what she was saying is she was saying that she didn't need my presence. She needed my presence.
Yes.
Right?
Very profound.
Yeah. She needed my presence, not not what I gave, not the gifts.
Yes.
Right? She didn't care about that. She cared about me being there.
Did it change anything for you after she said that to you?
It made me realize that you can have a career and still put your family first. Right? You can be a good soldier and still put your family first.
Did you change your behavior after that?
By the time they were older, right? But
Right.
I had no choice but to at least attempt to have a better relationship with them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your kids don't stop needing you because they've graduated from school. And you've got a very close relationship with them now. But do you think that moment helped to create that, like, a sort of honesty?
It did, and they were some of the things we said when we were kids, we get hit upside the head for saying.
You would never say that.
well, children today, they're very honest, and and it is honesty. It's not being rude. It's honesty.
Yes.
And I think her being honest made me look within and say, you know what? Maybe exactly what you were saying. Maybe I was doing it because that's what I wanted. As a child. Yeah,
right. The presence and, the proof that you are valued and, and being supported finationally and all of that. But that's not necessarily what they needed.
No, that's not necessarily what they needed. Does that make me a bad father? No.
This is right. This is right. Well, there's something else here that's so fascinating too, is that you use the word honesty. Your daughter was being honest with you about her experience of you. That to me is a growth moment, because that honesty that maybe our parents would be offended by, because you don't, they might say you don't understand what we had to sacrifice or what was going on for us. But that honesty, that location allows you to have an authentic relationship with this person that is your child. It allows them to have that with you because they now have told you something that's hurtful. You've received it, and you can continue to move forward.
That's right.
In a different way.
In a different way, because now it's not what I think you want. Yeah. Is me coming to you and say, what would you like in this moment? Or how do you want me to support you in this instant? It's not what I think you want. Yes.
Or it's also, or additionally, it is.
Or
it's what are we now?
That's right.
Like, what are we, and how do we go forward? And I feel like because the world is so complicated and so difficult right now for people in their 20s and 30s, that they need to be able to have a safe relationship with their parents.
Yes.
And we need that with them.
And we need that with them. And it's not it's not, oh, when I was a kid, I couldn't talk to my mother like that. No. It's being able to communicate.
Yes.
Right? Because you can go to work and your boss can talk to you the way he wants to talk to you, and you're not going to say a thing. But when your child is trying to have the communication with you and saying, Dad, I don't like that. Or Mom, I don't like that. And that's what it is. It's communication.
There's a quote we talked about. You mentioned it. You're not going to remember this, but I want to ask you about it.
Okay.
What it means to you. Okay. And it's from the Bible. It's from Matthew. And it goes like this. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart. What do you think about when you hear that verse?
To me, it's about surrendering to God, surrendering to your maker, not being worried about having those conversations with him. That's what it means to me.
Do you think
full surrender?
Full surrender. And as a soldier, as a father, do you think that your burdens are sometimes light because of that belief that you are surrendering to something greater than yourself?
I don't think they're light.
Light, not light.
I don't think they're light because we're all going through a lot of struggles, but I do believe that with God in me, I'm unstoppable. Right? So I don't think they're light, but I do believe that with God in me, I'm unstoppable. Just like going to the gym, and if I'm looking at the dumbbells, and I'm like, oh, that's 160 pounds. I couldn't do it last week, but I might go and say, well, God, give me the strength, pick it up and lift them. So it's believing that you can do all things with Christ, with God in you.
How did you come to surrender yourself to your faith, to recognize faith was something that was really important for you?
You woke up in a hog pen.
You woke up where?
In a hog pen. It's the story of the prodigal son. Right? It's my life. The story of the prodigal son.
What's a hog pen?
The hog with the pigs.
Yeah. You woke up with, okay, that's what I thought, but
an analogy.
Okay. Oh, it's an analogy. It's not that you actually woke up in the hog pen.
No.
Okay, because I thought that was going to be a very good story.
But if you read the story of the prodigal son,
yes.
It tells you how one of the sons wanted his wealth, and he went away and squandered it all, and then he ended up having to sleep in a hog pen. And eventually he went back home to his father.
Yes.
And his father celebrated him. So I think that is my story. And that's what brought me back to Christ, is being, reaching my threshold. There's a course that we take in the military, evasive driving skills. And, you're driving at speeds of 120 kilometers, 140 kilometers an hour, and you get to a turn and you have to make that turn.
Yes.
Well, before you make that turn, they tell you, threshold the brakes, right? So when you at, your threshold, when you're at your lowest point and you bounce back, right? And you can't get out of that obstacle unless you get to
that point.
To get to that point.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And have you gotten to that point multiple times, or was there one profound time that...
Oh yeah, multiple times. Multiple times. And you know, and sometimes I ask myself, I mean, what am I here to learn? Right? Because, you know, you're not going through the same issues, but you're going through different issues, right? For instance, last week, you know, I have a thing. We have a thing in our mess, in our military mess, and I'm the sports rep. So I have the season tickets for the Blue Jays, and every week or every game, there's a new winner. Right. Well, this guy who's a soldier, he said he wanted to go on this specific date. And I said, okay, I'm going to put you in the draw. But in his mind, he's thinking he is going to win the tickets.
Yes, yes.
But there's probably 3 other people that are selecting that date. So I put you on a Google generated number and you don't get picked, But I tell you, listen, I'll give you another date. Well, he got on the phone and he cursed the hell out of me.
Wow.
Like literally cursed me out. Right? Junior to me, but literally cursed me out. Well, my first instinct was to go grab him by the neck. So I went down to his office. He wasn't there. Thank God. He wasn't there. So for some reason, it was heavy on me, right?
Yeah.
Thought about it the whole night. Next day, went to his boss. The boss was telling me, well, he's going through some struggles right now. He's got a little bit of PTSD, right? I said, oh. And now the compassion comes in.
Right,
okay?
right.
So I go to the winner and I said, listen, I need a favor. First I told him, are you a believer in God? Because there's prime tickets. It's the Yankees. And he says, yes. I said, listen, somebody who wanted the tickets for that date, but you won it. Are you willing to give them up? And I'll give you 2 games.
Yes.
And he goes, oh, I wasn't going anyway. So I said, all right, well, send him back to me. So he sent him back to me. And I was able to go to the lad and says, oh, here's your tickets. And he texted me a beautiful message. He says, I'm sorry for disrespecting you. And you know, he was very kind. And then to me in that story or in that instant, because I'm heading to soon, I am going to be promoted to the next rank. God was wanting to see if I can handle a certain situation with compassion. Because we tell ourselves, okay, well, that person is responding this way. You're a soldier. You need to be professional. I'm going to sort you out.
Right.
But at the same time, why did he respond that way? Right? Yes, it needs to be addressed.
Yes.
So he was addressed. But there's a reason why the person responded that way. So I think that situation that God made me go through is to teach me that you need to have a little more compassion.
Right. And to be able to see the larger
picture,
the larger story.
The larger story, have more empathy.
Yes. And you know, you alluded a little bit to PTSD, and you know, so many, we've chatted about this before, and so many people in the military are struggling with PTSD. Do you think that some of your work is about creating space to help or to support people going through that process?
Yes, I'm part of a group called Soldiers Helping Soldiers, and it's to help create that space so that, and also I'm part of a Sentinel group so that soldiers who are going through some issues, they could come and they could have a conversation with someone that is not of authority, and that, they can speak to and understand, and that person can tell them, or I've been through what you've been through.
Yes, yes.
But at the same time, I have my own.
You have your own.
Exactly. So it's also an outlet for me, right? To have those conversations. Those conversations in turn helps me get better.
Yes. And to hear someone else unburden themselves, from the stories that are holding them,
That's right.
sort of hostage. At that same lunch that I mentioned earlier, there were a number of stories that were told. And for me as a civilian, just listening, they didn't leave me. And so I couldn't imagine being the person on the ground, seeing or feeling or, experiencing some of these things, what that does to your mind. So I think it's so powerful that you're part of this group and part of and actively like talking about it rather than it's a quiet secret that we don't know.
Yes.
Listen, Patrick, I think there's so much more that we could talk about. We should do a session or live or on the podcast about depression and anxiety.
Definitely, I would love
to. Because so many people could be helped by that. There's so much we could talk about, but I'd love to talk about that with you.
And perhaps I can be helped.
Of course. I think just in this, what you're doing right now, talking is helping others and helping yourself and helping me, because when we know each other's stories, we can feel each other in a way, and we can and that's what living compassion is.
Yes.
Warrant, Patrick, thank you for being here today. I mean, listen, you are being very humble. You haven't told your full story, so that's the other reason we have you back on. But my friends listening, this is just a taste of this very extraordinary person who is full of humility and grace, and we are very lucky and blessed as Canadians to have your service and the team and the military behind you. We have an incredible military in Canada.
We do.
And so I just am very grateful for you making the time, and thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
My friends, thank you for joining me on Let's Talk, produced by Wise Mindly Inc. I hope today's conversation inspired you to take action, reflect, or embrace on a new way of thinking, on a new path. And if you enjoyed today's episode, and hopefully you did, don't forget to subscribe, share, and even leave a review. Reviews matter. They allow us to do way more than we're doing now. Let's continue the journey of growth and well-being together. Until next time, I'm Coach Marville. Stay connected, stay curious, and let's keep talking.